Hello and welcome to Good or Bad. Since it is Valentine's Day, the day of love, I thought I would spend it alone, watching a movie where people get their hearts ripped out. My Bloody Valentine. Specifically, the 1981 original. I did want to cover the remake as well this year, but time has been a little unforgiving of late. So I guess that will just have to be for next year. Directed by George Mihalka, this movie centres around a small mining town, but one with a bit of a chip on its shoulder when it comes to Valentine's Day. You see, there's a vengeful miner going around killing anyone that's celebrating Valentine's Day. Also, if you thought a serial killer that exclusively kills people that are celebrating Valentine's Day and plucks their hearts out and places them in lovely little Valentine's Day heart-shaped gift boxes was just a bit too subtle, then fear not, because the movie drives that point home even harder by having the town called Valentine Bluffs. I mean, in Halloween, they were happy enough to just have it take place in a fictional town called Haddonfield. They didn't feel the need to go, it's called Halloween Falls. But I digress. The name of the town, while a bit on the nose, doesn't really matter. But what does matter is the question of whether this is a good slasher movie or not. Well, if that's the question that's on the tip of your brain, you've come to the right place. If not, well, why did you click on the video? Okay, so the movie opens up in a mine. Good. Love a mine. Great sense of ownership with a mine. If you've been enjoying these jokes, feel free to subscribe for more brain-rottingly awful, only took 2 seconds to come up with, pathetic waste of time jokes. You're welcome. Also, be warned. Spoilers from here on out. No quarter will be shown. Or given. Given makes more sense. Yes, that one. But what's going on at the start of the movie then? There seems to be 2 people in the mine. I wonder what they're doing there. One would assume mining. But no, they are about to have a bit of the sex. Until the guy sees a tattoo of a love heart and flips out and rips her beating heart right out of her chest. That is certainly a red flag to watch out for when starting a relationship. Well, that's our opening kill, to whet our bloodthirsty appetites. Then it cuts to the intro titles, and I must say, while short and simple, they are very effective. I especially liked the little drop of blood. It was a nice finishing touch. You might say, the metaphorical cherry on the metaphorical cake. I like that I felt the need to say metaphorical twice there. Like you were gonna think I meant a metaphorical cherry on a real cake. Or a real cherry on a metaphorical cake. I'm wasting your time. And mine. I do that a lot. This is TJ. He is played by Paul Kelman, who is our main character. TJ, not Paul Kelman. Paul Kelman plays TJ. TJ is the main character. Again, I'm wasting your time. He is the son of the mine owner and grew up in this town, but then moved away, and then moved back. And I know I sound like I'm rattling on right now and I'm wasting your time again, but there is a genuine, real, somewhat thereabout significance to his geographical relocations. Love triangle. It's a love triangle. You see, before he initially moved away, he was dating Sarah, who is played by Laurie Hallier. And then after he moved, she started dating his friend Axel, played by Neil Affleck. Which is of course how it works. As soon as you leave, your girlfriend and friend have to bounce up and down naked on each other. There is just no other way. Of course, now that TJ is back, Sarah feels torn. Hey, I never said that it was an imaginative movie. Personally, I find that particular story arc a little boring. I've never really been one for love triangles. Unless it's an appreciation for the musical instrument. It deserves more respect! But I guess it does its job to an okay level. It's alright, but it is just a scripted romance. So yes, the town is excited for the upcoming Valentine's dance, which is actually the first one in 2 decades, due to the fact that a man named Harry Warden murdered a bunch of people during the last one, and vowed to continue his bloody murder spree if anyone ever celebrates Valentine's Day again in that town. If you go over to the next town, you're allowed to celebrate Valentine's Day. His jurisdiction does not extend that far. Why did he do this, you ask? Well, it's because he's the sole survivor of a cave-in at the mine, where he had to kill the other miners and eat them in order to survive long enough to be rescued. Which was already enough to drive you crazy, but on top of that, the reason for the explosion in the first place was because 2 supervisors didn't check the methane gas levels down there because they were too busy getting off early to the Valentine's dance. Which is why Harry has vowed to punish all who celebrate it. Personally, I would say punish anyone who exhibits workplace safety negligence, but I suppose that's not as cool as fixating on a holiday. I must say though that the flashback story moments, where they tell the tale of Harry Warden, were really well executed. They certainly utilised the less is more style of storytelling. We just see glimpses of him in the mine, and that shows us perfectly everything that he's gone through and the toll that it is taking on him. And they don't even outright state that he cannibalised his fellow workers to survive, they just show it. We see a brief clip of him in the mine shaft holding a human arm like a ketchup-drenched corn on the cob. It is simple, effective, and respects your time. Ooh, I'm going to add that to my dating profile. This backstory is told in the context of a bartender warning the younger generation of miners against celebrating Valentine's Day. And I can't help but draw a few similarities to Friday the 13th's Crazy Ralph. Certainly with this movie coming out only 1 year after Friday the 13th, having a character who has no connection to the killer ominously warning them definitely gives those same vibes. You could say that his warnings are because he is legit concerned and that they shouldn't have this party after all this time, but given the fact that Harry was captured after his initial killings and locked up into a mental health hospital, unless he knows something that they don't know, it's not a logical warning. But he doesn't know anything else. He is just a Crazy Ralph figure. Also, if Harry has been locked up for the better part of 20 years, why is it taking him this long to do another Valentine's party? I get holding off for a few years out of respect, but 20 seems a bit excessive. At any rate, the party is on and everyone is looking forward to it. Until the mayor of Valentine Bluffs opens up a love heart-shaped gift box and finds inside a most insidious warning, in the form of a human heart. And then poor old Mabel, who is helping organise the party, is killed off.
Roses are red, violets are blue. One is dead, and so are you?
You know, you may have lived if you hadn't have felt the need to read that out loud on your own, thus giving the killer the most cinematically pleasing moment to kill you. The masked miner attacks and commits a murder, most foul. And yeah, it was a good scene. The movie pretty much plays out from here with the mayor and the sheriff frantically trying to speak to the mental health hospital to find out if Harry Warden escaped. But they don't get an answer until nearer the end of the movie, where they find out that Harry died a few years back, which would make this movie a whodunit. Aside from the fact that we believed it was Harry right up until the end, so we don't get to enjoy the best part of the whodunit, which is trying to, figure out who done it. So if it wasn't Harry, who done it? Well, in the run-up to the town's Valentine's Day party, the mayor rightfully freaks out and cancels the party to prevent further loss of life. Yes, we do not negotiate with maniacs, unless it's just a dance you want cancelling. That's no big deal, right? But give them an inch and they'll take a mile. First it's the dance, then they want a helicopter, 10 million in cash and a curly-whirly. Now with the party officially having gone the way of the dodo, love that bird, the younger generation of miners come up with their own ideas to throw a party of their very own at the mines. Oh well, I'm sure this isn't a bad idea at all. Holding a Valentine's Day party in a mine when there's a serial killer that's dressed as a miner that kills people who are celebrating Valentine's Day. I'm sure this is going to go brilliantly. But first, I love this scene. Remember Basically Crazy Ralph bartender guy who was warning them not to go to a party? Well, he tries to prank them by setting up a little scare with what looks like a miner holding a pickaxe that would look like it's attacking you when you open the door. I love it because it's silly, goofy, and all round brilliant. Love a prank. Also, the metaphorical icing on the cake, and it was a metaphorical cake as well, was that he repeatedly kept going back to open it and amuse himself when it came out. And look at him, he's having the time of his life, he's really enjoying it. But then it turns out the killer really was there and murdered him. The joke, as it turned out, was on you. If there was an egg involved, it would be on your face. So yeah, he is dead, and they party. As you can imagine, they get picked off one by one, in the usual slasher way. Aside from one guy who gets his face boiled in hot dog water. That doesn't look very fun, does it? By the end, it is just the love triangle left. Then Axel falls to his death, but we never see the body. So say it with me, everyone! Axel is the killer! His reasoning was that Harry Warden killed his father, who was one of the supervisors that bailed for the dance. And Axel saw the whole thing when he was a kid, which drove him crazy and led him to do the same thing to others. I mean, fair point, it's absolutely real that. Just look at the kid from Halloween. He saw what Michael Myers was doing and he grew up to replace Michael. No wait, actually got his face smashed in by Michael with a baseball bat. Either that or he was Paul Rudd. The timelines are all over the place. I guess though the explanation as to why Axel became the next Harry Warden is fine. That experience dealt a massive blow of unresolved childhood trauma, which he locked down growing up, and only when he got with his friend's ex-girlfriend, then felt threatened when his friend returned, did it start to manifest itself. I think this would have had more of an impact if we knew from the jump that it couldn't be Harry Warden, therefore we would have been trying to figure out who it was. Because the foundations for this were there. We did know that Harry killed his father, so it wouldn't have come out of the blue. Either way, the movie ends with a bit of a scrap between TJ and Axel, and then Axel runs off into the mine all crazily, as the rest of the town goes, "Oh my, he needs help." Then TJ and Sarah live happily ever after. Maybe. I don't know, the movie ends there. My Bloody Valentine. It was decent. Nowhere near my favourite slasher movie, but it was a good enough time. The kills are good, the performances are good, and I do like the characters even if I don't find love triangles that interesting, but that story certainly did work. I do think the movie could have delved into why TJ left in the first place, what his relationships were like with the other characters prior to leaving, because we are only told these things very briefly. Like, he dated Sarah, he was friends with Axel, but never anything that was more than just a paper-thin backstory. And as much as I liked the characters, I do think that this would have helped me care about them more, and maybe even give a damn about the love triangle, as well as Axel's descent into madness. But nonetheless, like I said, My Bloody Valentine. It was a good enough time. Overall, I will give this movie a 7 out of 10. It is certainly above average and a solid good slasher movie, but unfortunately it doesn't really do anything to push the boat out, which ultimately means it just blends in with the excessive amount of slasher movies of the 1980s. You have been watching Good or Bad, and if you've enjoyed today's video, please hit those like and subscribe buttons, and I will see you next time.